This has serious implications. Could the Penguins make another change at goaltender? And is Bryan Rust okay after he suffered an injury during the game last night in Anaheim? We have an update from Anaheim from Penguins practice on Bryan Rust and Blake Lizotte, who missed last night's game due to an illness. So we have 2 injury updates for you guys today. A goalie conversation to be had yet again in Pittsburgh after Jarry was sent down. Is it time for Yoel Blomqvist? We'll make the case. But first, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel if you want the latest Pittsburgh Penguins news, rumors, updates, and analysis, including this video today, which is mainly injury updates on Bryan Rust and Blake Lizotte, as well as some goaltender analysis and disappointment from the game last night. That's what we'll start with because the Ducks, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, just beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. Could anyone, somebody, please explain to me how this team goes from playing one of their best games of the season to losing one of their worst games of the season? They always do this. They did it when they beat Edmonton not that long ago, maybe a month ago, or if that. They destroyed the Oilers, okay? And then the next game against the Senators, they played arguably their worst game of the entire season. Now they play the LA Kings. They destroy the Kings. It is an impressive display by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then a few nights later, they get embarrassed by the Anaheim Ducks, one of the worst teams in the National Hockey League, and it was a convincing win for Anaheim. They dominated 5-on-5, aside from the first about 7-8 minutes of the game where the Penguins didn't allow a shot on goal. After that, all 5-on-5 hockey was in favor of the Anaheim Ducks, and they took control and won that game. A hat trick almost for Mason McTavish. He hit the post on this one-handed opportunity on the empty net late in the game, but he dominated. Their defense looked really good. Our old friend Brian Dumoulin played a really good game. Radko Gudas, obviously Jacob Trouba. They have a very physical defense there in Anaheim, but they just made us look bad, and the story of the game was John Gibson. John Gibson stood on his head. Penguins couldn't find an answer to beat him, and then their only goal was on the power play, a perfect setup, and then Michael Bunting was able to score, and then their power play after that and the opportunities they had did not look the same. It was just that one power play was the only positive I saw the entire game. The way they were moving the puck during that power play, just everything about that power play was great, but the rest of the game was ducking ugly. Ducking ugly is the perfect way to put it. You know, for us East Coast fans that stayed up to watch the game, it was very embarrassing. It wasn't really worth our time. The Penguins didn't want to give it any effort, so why should we? The effort that we should give is taking the remote and turning the TV off. Unfortunately, that's not the type of fan that I am. I sat through the entire game and tried to analyze as best I could. But there wasn't much for me to say at 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm just sitting here defeated after watching what I watched. And I was excited to make a video for you guys. If we got another big win, I was going to, have the energy and make a video at 1 in the morning. Well, here I am about, 15 hours later. I'm still defeated at this point. I don't really know what there is to say other than this phenomenon that keeps happening where the Penguins play an excellent game and then the very next game just completely leave it out there. They don't give any effort. They just look flat-footed. They're on their heels for most of the game, and they lose. The shots on goal do not tell the story. You guys can say all you want, shots on goal or even. I don't care about shots on goal. They weren't getting viable scoring chances and generating any type of offense. They're just firing pucks on net. And that's not going to work against John Gibson. He was sharp, but not razor sharp last night. Like, he was letting pucks through, but then he would recover. So one would go underneath him, he'd reach back with his trapper and keep it out. He, lose one in his shoulder somewhere, and he's just hug it to his pad. One way or another, John Gibson would make the save. And I knew when Erik Karlsson got robbed, highway robbery by John Gibson, kicking the skate out, making the save on Karlsson, that game was not going to go our way. So it was kind of a foreseeable thing that the Penguins were going to lose that game after that save that Gibson made. So let's get into the meat of this video, which is going to be Rust and Lizotte. Bryan Rust injured last night. Blake Lizotte, a late scratch to the lineup heading into the game last night. I didn't find out that Lizotte wasn't going to play until the game started. And then I was like, oh, wow, Blake Lizotte's not in there. I wonder why Matt Nieto was in the lineup. Well, Blake Lizotte was ill. He is now okay. He practiced today. We'll show you the update here from Penguins practice here in just a second. If I can pull it up here. Here is the update from Penguins practice. So Blake Lizotte did practice today. Bryan Rust is day-to-day with a lower body injury after that freak incident that happened last night. Rust just kind of left the game and never came back. The Penguins tweeted about it, and I'll show you that as well, that Bryan Rust left the game due to a lower body injury and would not return. So that was really the only thing we knew until practice today, where we get the rest of the updates on Bryan Rust, just kind of standing there on the other side of the glass, watching in workout clothes. So Bryan Rust, we don't know his status for tomorrow night's game against the Kraken, but it's not looking too good. And Blake Lizotte seems to be okay after battling an illness for just one day. So Lizotte's back. Rust is out, and obviously that has serious implications for the Penguins. One of their best players maybe missing a little bit of time. That's not something the Penguins can afford right now, as bad as they're playing. So it could be a serious thing. If Bryan Rust has to miss any time at all, I would expect Anthony Beauvillier to play on a line with Crosby yet again, and he was good in that spot before. Beauvillier, Crosby, Raquel will likely be the Penguins' first line if Rust is to miss any time. So very unfortunate injury for Rust. When we have more updates, we'll let you guys know. But for now, all we know is he's day-to-day with a lower body injury. I wish I had more information for you guys, but that's what it is right now. As we move into the next question that we're going to ask ourselves, is it time for Joel Blomqvist to take over as a starting goalie? And not because Ned has played bad. I'm not going to be the one to sit here and just blame the goalie. I will not do that. I understand how difficult it is. Ned was put in impossible situations all night last night, and for the first 2 goals, I blame P.O. Joseph, but it wasn't really on P.O. Joseph because right before that, he got hit head first, face first, into the boards, and he looked concussed. He barely made it over to the bench. They wouldn't even stop play whenever he's just laying there after he got hit by Erik Karlsson, and it was really frustrating because he was laying on the ice during the next goal. He literally fell down, and then they scored because his spot was where the puck was, and he wasn't able to clear it out. And Nedeljkovic was out of position, came out of the net, and the net's wide open because P.O. Joseph's laying on the ice. So it was really difficult for Ned to do anything, and P.O. was obviously laying on the ice. And then the next goal, he just got beat completely. They just ran right by him, and like he wasn't even there. Traffic cone P.O. Joseph. I love P.O. Joseph, but last night was his worst game as a Penguin, and I think it's because he's maybe concussed. I'm not one to say, hey, you're injured, don't play, but P.O. Joseph should not have been on the ice last night. I mean, he just did not look right. He looked slow. He looked sluggish. He looked wobbly. It just was not a good night for P.O., and I feel bad for the guy. I really do. But the argument for Joel Blomqvist to possibly get a run here is that not necessarily Nedeljkovic has played poorly. Like I said, I agree with this report entirely. He hasn't been that bad, but it's time to really dig deep and see if Joel Blomqvist is the guy. Is he our franchise goalie? Is he our number 1 goalie moving forward? Could he be at any point in time? We will not know that until he gets an opportunity. Until you try Blomqvist, you don't know if he's an upgrade over Ned. Right now, you know exactly what you have in Ned. He's nothing special. I'm just being honest with you guys. I love Ned, but he's nothing special. He's a 1B goalie at best. He's not elite. Joel Blomqvist has not gotten a chance to prove if he's elite or if he can even be, that top tier. Not necessarily like top 5, top 10 in the league, but even mid would be an upgrade for Pittsburgh right now. So if Joel Blomqvist could step in and be a mid goalie, the Penguins have a chance. Right now with Ned, I don't know. I think it's time. Our season's slipping away. We can't afford that many more losses. I think it's time to pull the plug on Ned and give Blomqvist a chance. Give him a little bit of leash to run with it and see what he does with it. It's not time to make a full, switcheroo, but at least give this guy a shot to see what he's made of. What can he bring to the table? What can he bring to the Pittsburgh Penguins that they're not getting right now in Alex Nedeljkovic? And we're going to hear from him real quick about what he said last night after the game. He said, we just weren't very detailed in that first period, and it doesn't matter who you play. You can't spot a team for a full 20 minutes. Shots were pretty even, but I don't think we were at our best, honestly, in the first period. I think we got into it in the second and the third. A lucky bounce there for them right after a power play. They get one off the stanchion, and a guy buries it. And it's a 2-goal game, and it's a tough start for us. I think we could have been better, and if we found a way to save that at the end of the period, maybe things would have been a little different. It would have been 1-1, so it's a tough pill to swallow. So that's Nedeljkovic taking his share of the blame as we really debate if Joel Blomqvist should be the guy moving forward over Alex Nedeljkovic. I personally would give Blomqvist a chance. What do you have to lose at this point? That performance last night is enough for me to say, you know what? It doesn't matter who's in net. Our defense is so atrocious, and you guys can make that same argument right now. Our defense is so inconsistent and so bad that no matter who's in net, they're set up for failure. And I don't know how John Gibson has had success as long as he has in Anaheim. That's an example of a guy. If the Penguins had a guy like that it would be a completely different hockey team because he makes up for your defense lacking in a lot of areas a lot of the time. As we get to the factor trivia of the day to wrap up this video, not a very fun video to make if I'm being honest, guys, because the Penguins got pretty much slaughtered last night by the Ducks, on the scoreboard at least. Now, if you watched the game like I did, you could make an argument that they had their moments, but I'm not even going to give them any credit because that was a team they should have beat. So let's just get into the fact of the day and wrap up the video for today. The fact is, on January 24th, which is today, 2023, 2 years ago, Kris Letang had 2 goals, including the win goal in overtime and 2 assists in the Penguins' 7-6 win over the Panthers. So 2 years ago on this day, Kris Letang had 2 goals, including the winning goal in overtime and 2 assists in the Penguins' 7-6 win over the Panthers. That is your fact of the day here on Penguins Digest. Thank you guys for watching this video. It's tough for me to make a video when we get embarrassed like that, but I do it anyways because I love you guys, you fans, Penguins Nation. We are here to stay regardless. You guys have been subbing the channel like crazy lately. Keep making this channel grow. We're over 500 subscribers, and we're in the race to 1,000. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next edition of Penguins Digest.